Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here with you today, and today we're going to be talking about skills for destroyer players, something a little different here that I want to highlight with a certain battle. And there are 6 things. Those are patience, contesting, fighting for the cap, screening, pushing, spotting enemy destroyers, free torping, and knowing your enemy. So those are 6 things I'm going to highlight throughout this video. I'm actually going to even pause the screen on certain points just to focus in on certain aspects, because I do see destroyer players struggling with these different things from time to time, and so I want to see if I can help with that, as I like trying to give advice in what I can. Now, the Shimakaze isn't a destroyer I've actually played a lot in random battles. I think I've only have 2 battles in random battles with Shimakaze, but I have a lot of more experience with Shimakaze in ranked. I have like an 80% run rate with Shimakaze, I think it is, in ranked. But the 2 battles I've played so far, I've lost both times in Shimakaze. But I've always scored first or second place thus far, even on the losing team. So, trust me, I'm confident in my skills as a destroyer player, even though Shimakaze doesn't show that in the randoms win rate results, but it plays similar to the Yugamo and also the Kagero, if that's exactly how you pronounce that ship. So they all work similarly. Alright, so in pulling up here, you can see I have a 19 or 20 point build on my Shimakaze, and here you can see I have RPF. And I know that there is an enemy destroyer pushing into this cap. And I'm kind of looking at the player list, seeing what's going on, what destroyer may it potentially be. Now, the first thing I want to highlight here is this island. I'm moving myself towards over by this island, so if I need to get away, make a quick escape, say if it's something like the Holland or the Gearing that pushes in, or even Yu Yang, I can get away from this island if need be, because the Yu Yang can choose between either radar or smoke. And so I'm paying attention to the minimap, trying to figure out where the enemy destroyers are popping up at, because that will help me know. Now, the other thing here that I want to highlight is look how I'm positioning myself in the Shimakaze. 2 of the 3 turrets are located in the rear of the Shimakaze, so it doesn't make sense for me to face bow in, but to face stern in. So if I do need to make a getaway or escape, I can, but I have those hard-hitting IJN HE shells at my disposal. If I'm in something like the Gearing, where 2 of the 3 turrets are located on the bow and the front, I will face nose in to the cap, because then I get my firepower there, and also since we know that the Gearing knows I'm here, or spoiler alert, the enemy destroyer knows I'm here since I'm contesting the cap, it just helps me to be more at an advantage here. So you can see I'm just reversing in slowly, and because of Shimakaze's concealment, I out-detect, I out-spot the Gearing. So that works fantastic. So I can just kind of be a bully and push in. Now I'm getting torpedoes ready because I'm paying attention that he's still contesting the cap. He hasn't left the cap, and you can kind of see my RPF is going a little bit to the left. And so for now, I know he's gone that way. He's stretching the smoke screen that way. So it's important for me to dump the torpedoes as soon as I can, but now my RPF goes back to the right, because I figured that it's likely a destroyer player would head back towards this island, and that's actually exactly what he's done. There's a little bit of a sliver in this cap with that island where you can kind of tuck yourself in behind, where you won't be hit by torpedoes. So 15 torpedoes, it was a bust. What would have worked better is trying kind of what I'm doing now. I'm already getting ready for the next torpedoes to unload, since that smoke screen will last for 2 minutes, where I'm kind of pushing up at an angle, getting a little bit farther to the left on the screen so I can get more of an angle about potentially dumping torpedoes in on that destroyer. Now, the first thing I was highlighting is patience. If you're a destroyer player or want to play destroyers, you have to have patience. And that comes in like here, contesting and fighting the cap. Even though I'm not being able to do much right now besides contesting the cap, I'm paying attention to the minimap, and I'll highlight that Yu Yang for our Holland player in the south, just letting him know that he's there. But I'm being patient because I don't want the enemy team to get this cap. We have one cap advantage already right now in having A that our Holland took. And the Holland is being quite bold with the number of ships that are down there. We're going to just be able to continue to sit here and contest this cap, denying them points. Now the enemy team has taken the northern cap, which our gearing player up north, who's also pink, has been AFK. And he really we needed him a lot sooner because that's put us at a disadvantage. It's going to cost us later on in the game. So we're still sitting here. I'm still paying attention to my RPF. I can see that he's left the cap. So what I'm assuming that this gearing player is going to do is that he's probably just going to circle around. That's what I would do if I was him, and you can kind of see my RPF is changing because I can't imagine him letting me take this cap for free. I'm pretty sure this gearing has showed that he wants to fight for the cap. And so we're going to continue to increase our cap progress here, but I'm expecting the gearing to come back in. Now, one of the things I'm doing is I'm also paying attention. I'm screening here. I didn't get to screen those torpedoes that came towards, I think, our Kremlin player a little bit ago. But I'm screening if the gearing does dump more torpedoes, and I'm more in line with him, then it's not likely that I'll eat a torpedo. But I can screen torpedoes right now for the Petropavlovsk and the Goliath. And we push back in, and again we've picked him up. We're bullying him, and he's smoked up again instantly. And we even had one of our teammates was ready. And look, here are torpedoes. And because I was kind of continuing to turn my nose north, my bow more towards stern towards the gearing, I'm continuing to line myself up, and I pop engine boost just in case and make sure I get out of the way of this torpedo here on the end. But if you look at where our Goliath and Petropavlovsk is on the mini map, you'll see they have now plenty of warning. They should be able to avoid this and not eat any torpedoes. Now, because I know the gearing has popped smokescreen again, I'm going to take a gamble again here, and I'm going to try to dump torpedoes. I can see he's still moving a little bit forward, and I'm expecting him to possibly go back. He's still fighting for the cap, but just in case, I'm going to dump one further ahead. And I've kind of got this, instead of just a line, I've got this kind of cross zigzag going. But he's left a smokescreen. So this goes with knowing your enemy. So this tells me this gearing player is wise enough, he knows not to sit in his smokescreens. He knows to get out, especially when he's dealing with a Shimakaze player that likely has his torpedoes on cooldown. And so now I have a little bit more respect for the gearing because I've been watching him, I've been examining how he's playing, and trying to use that to my advantage. So we bullied him out of the cap again. I go ahead and pop a shot. I do go ahead and smoke up just because I don't want to take the risk of losing any HP. There's not really any enemy ships that have a good firing solution on me right now. But I want to go ahead and smoke up now, and then I'm going to leave the smoke, even though the gearing torpedoes aren't quite ready yet, or they're getting close to. But I want to just go ahead and bail on the smoke. Now we've got the cap, and the gearing at this point, he's just kind of given up because I'm just continuing out detecting him. He's not getting very far with his cap. Now here I have a decision. Capture that area. As you see, I'm highlighting capture area. What's that, C? We should have had cap C by now. The majority of our team is here to the north, but they've been kind of parked here behind these two islands to my left. That's the bad part about this map, is that players kind of tend to sit and ponder what they're going to do. But I would rather focus on the enemy team to the south. Now here I have a decision. My RPF is pointing to like 130, and I know the gearing is the closest to me. If I go on the right side of the island, I'm going to pin myself up against the island, and my smoke is on cooldown. I have a minute 51 before my smoke comes back online. So it's going to be bad for me to go on the front side of this island. So instead, I'm going to choose to go on the back side of the island because that wouldn't be good for me, because there are enemy team players, and the Holland is still around somewhere between the Holland's DPM and the gearing's DPM. They could do a potential significant number on me. So I slow down and say, nope, we're going to go left. So that's wiser for me to do here. So we're going to push more up through this area, and we're going to try to go for cap C. Now, like I said, I would rather have gone to the south, because now the enemy team from A is just going to push up north. And one of the things I like that I don't have on this list, because it doesn't really happen, is gatekeeping is what I call it with torpedoes, is that you're kind of impeding the enemy's team's progress, because there's really no one between them and capture point Bravo, right? They can just move in and take the cap, really uncontested. And you kind of see that Yu Ying player is already further up north, or what? Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. And he actually gets the Ghost Recur first on our team. Now here I'm pushing in, and we've picked up the gearing again. I see that there's this, what is this, Republic, and hoping that maybe he'll stay within that 12-kilometer torpedo range. If that's a different ship, I'm sorry, I can't quite see it on the mini map with my recording software. Now, if you look here, because I've also been taking my time, we've caught torpedoes again that the gearing has dumped towards our teammates. And that's one of the things when you're screening, you have to be mindful, okay, where are the enemy destroyers and where are my teammates behind me? Because you have to be mindful that you might eat a torpedo if you position yourself, but you kind of want to be close if you can screen and pick up those torpedoes. And look, we've picked up another torpedo set, and those are fast-moving torpedoes. Those are the Holland torps. And when I see these torpedoes, it helps me also keep in mind when I'm dealing with enemy destroyer players that, okay, about a minute, or actually 45 seconds, 50 seconds from now, the Holland is probably likely to have another torpedo set up. The gearing is also sort of close to that, but he's a little further behind, depending on the what type of build the gearing player might have done. So again, we're pushing in here, we pick up the gearing again, and we're being a bully with our concealment. And this is, I think, one of the greatest strengths of the Shimakaze, outside of its hard-hitting torpedoes, but it's this bullying with your concealment range. Because now I'm doing it to the gearing, we've been doing it, but I'm also going to be doing it to the Holland here shortly as well, because his detection is not as great, I think maybe by 0.2 kilometers than compared to the gearing, or maybe it is 6, we'll see here. So we see the Thunder, and oh, there's gearing, oh, there's Holland. And now we're bullying two destroyers with our concealment. And I'm just riding that fine line. I have a 5.6 concealment range, is what I think the max you can get on Shimakaze. And I'm riding that line. I'm seeing how they're positioned. We're pretty much broadside to one another, and I'm just going to kind of run parallel to them. Now, I know that there are likely torpedoes to be coming soon. What I'm wanting to do is I want to run around the edge of this cap and get in a little bit more behind them. We've already screened a significant amount of torpedoes for our team so far. But because we keep bullying in and pushing in, yeah, there's Holland torpedoes. He's already set to go again. But because we are bullying the detection radius of these enemy destroyers, we're doing our job. We're doing what we should be doing as a destroyer player in this situation. There's not, I mean, a lot of Shimakaze players can be afraid to kind of do these type of tactics, but because of knowing my enemy and I'm pushing them both, the gearing's health is almost dead. The Holland is, what was it, half health? And I still have my full health pool intact. We haven't lost any health. And because of that, I get to be a bit more aggressive and bold and keep pushing in. Now, the gearing, he's been detected multiple times, and he needs to die now. So I'm actually going to open up now with my main guns. You can use your guns as a Shimakaze player. It's okay to do that. And I'm hoping, if I don't get him in this first salvo, that I'll get him in the second salvo. And I'm going to be mindful to see if the Holland starts opening up on me or not. And I didn't want this gearing player to get away, because the points as the enemy team is pushing up is putting us in a bad position. So there's the Holland. We're the only one detecting him when he opened his guns. Because his gun range is so small, it's like 10, something like that. And now I smoked up because of this Thunderer that's been on the opposite side of the map. Now here's where I make a mistake. If I had been paying attention to the map earlier, what the Thunderer is doing more, I would have realized the Thunderer has been a very timid, cautious player. He's doing what he should be doing here. But if I would have known that information, I actually would have just ditched this cap and pushed in with my and torpedoed him around the island. But sometimes when you're a destroyer in this situation, when an enemy ship thinks that they can get the jump on you from coming around this island, sometimes they jump on that. So I'm kind of expecting maybe that's what the Thunder is going to do. But I need to make a decision. I can't sit in a smoke screen because Holland quick reload time on torpedoes. And so I decide, let's just back off and see what's going on here, because the smoke is actually a hindrance to me right now. And look, there you go. There's the Holland torpedoes. And it's near impossible to dodge Holland torpedoes when you're in a smoke screen in a destroyer, because they just go so bloody fast, especially if he has a full spec torpedoes, which that's what these look to be, because they're moving so fast. And we're going to get away from those, and the Thunder player he's chosen to disengage. And now I need to dump torpedoes on him ASAP. I'm looking at this opening in the island. As he picks up speed, I know he's going to be going a little bit faster, but he might leave our 12-kilometer torpedo range. So we dump one set, and then I kind of wait a moment to dump the second set. And because we're at the point in the game, I only decided to dump 2 sets of torpedoes. I want to hang on to my third set just for right now. Because I think I might need it with this Holland player, potentially. We're going to find out. So now I need to push back forward and see if I can't detect the Holland player again. But also we have the Venezia player and the Kremlin. Now, the Kremlin's outside my torpedo range. I don't really feel like I can get very far with that. But this Venezia player, let's talk about the Venezia player. As we go back to look at the torpedoes, as they're actually looking pretty good on the Thunderer, actually. So I'm hoping I can nail him with, if I nail him with 2 torpedoes, I think that might be enough to kill him, but we'll have to see. But yeah, this Venezia player. If you were paying attention to chat in the beginning of the battle, you know that this isn't just your average player. It is actually potato quality, and the giving away fact was that he was divisioned with Maltese Knight, both really good players. And that's because I know that. One of the things I'm actually do here, and I actually would have done it without knowing this is potato quality, this is where I'm talking about free torping. So my torpedoes are locked on. I have it locked on to the Yamato player right now. But this Venezia player, regardless of who they are, if they're able to think and breathe at the same time, they have no reason to leave or advance from the position that they're in. And I'm spending some time talking about this because it's important. Because he's behind that island, he's limiting how many of my teammates have a firing solution on him, and I think the Goliath on our team is the only destroyer player that he has a potential line of sight on, and any of my teammates that can shoot him. And so, yeah, and there goes our Goliath player from the Thunder. And because of that, I feel comfortable to just dump free torpedoes without locking on, because I do not want the Venezia player to know that there are torpedoes inbound. It's going to take 2 to sink him, and I'm hoping that he's pretty much broadside to us, and I'm really hoping that he eats at least 2 torpedoes. And it's also, I was like, man, if I had one more torpedo set, I would have dumped both almost overlapping, kind of like your fingers overlapping your other fingers. But we're only going to get 1 torpedo on here. And in the time of me dumping that torpedoes, we've had, 3 teammates die now. And now we're in a lot more difficult position. We really need a kill. And I'm going to dump the next 2 sets. But alas, it's not going to do us any good. Because our Yamato player, I believe it is about to die. So if we had gotten a kill here, I would have gotten a little bit more time with these torpedoes. And you can see now that we're locked on to renamed user there at the end. So we're going to lose this match, but I really wanted to highlight playing the Shimakaze, playing Destroyer, and with these 6 points, which we'll go over again now here at the end, because it wasn't so much like, oh, the victory, look at all the damage I did, but the things I did as a Destroyer player helped my team as best as it could, but there's only so much you can do. Because sometimes the enemy team is just better than your team. It's not that your players on your team are sometimes just derp and potatoes, but they're just sometimes not as good as the enemy team. So, emphasizing patience. You have to have patience as a destroyer player. Don't YOLO rush in, and I'm looking at you, you Palio Emilio players. Have patience. Don't YOLO the first 3 minutes of the match. Take your time, see what the enemy is doing, where are the radar cruisers positioning, what destroyer you're going up against when you're capping. And so contesting and fighting for the cap was really important, that we just didn't like, oh, I'm not getting this cap, I'm just going to ditch it. No, we were doing a very vital thing in contesting and fighting for that cap, and we had the advantage on the gearing because we out-detected him. And you could see how I was bullying him, and I kept forcing him to use smoke screens again and again, making him burn through them. That's a good thing. But he was a good player. You also saw how we were screening between the destroyers, between both the gearing and the Holland, and that we were, how many torpedoes we detected? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, all said and done. The last 10 torpedoes were just focused on us. But we screened and detected 40 torpedoes for our teammates because we were keeping in mind, okay, where's our allies and where are the enemy destroyer players? And kind of like we were being mindful of how we positioned so we didn't accidentally eat one of those torpedoes. The fourth thing is that we were pushing and spotting the enemy destroyer players, so we were using that to our advantage, especially here in the Shimakaze, where we out-detect them. You know, we had that 5.6 concealment range, and we could just keep pushing them. And there was a couple times our teammates, they were right on it, and firing at the gearing and even the Holland. And then as we kept our health pool intact, we were able to bully them more, and then actually I began opening fire where we killed that gearing. The fifth thing, free torping. I could also probably even throw an RPF torping in there. And that's where you're watching what your RPF's doing, and you're just using that to torpedo. And the unexpected torpedoes are the most deadliest torpedoes. And that really can catch destroyer players off guard, or just even other cruisers. But when you're using RPF torpedoes, it's not like you can see the target you are firing on, and so in that certain sense, you're free torping. Or just lock onto another ship, or you don't even have to be locked on to use torpedoes. And then how we were using it on the Venezia player there at the end, on Renamed User. We were dumping torpedoes on him, and we didn't lock onto him. We didn't flash, if he had prior target, we didn't flash him with the 1, 0, 1, 0, or maybe he had 2, 2, 1, 2, 1. And so hopefully those torpedoes were a little bit more not prepared for, although he still lived since he only ate 1. The sixth thing is knowing your enemy. So when I'm playing Destroyer, I'm watching to see what the enemy Destroyer players do, and enemy players in general. And so by the second time, we saw that we picked up that gearing. He's not staying in his smoke screen. So dumping torpedoes on next time he smoke screens is going to be pretty much worthless, because he's already dodged the first 2 times we've tried that. So kind of changing up the tactics of how we're going to deal with him. It's knowing that, even how an enemy player can be positioned, you don't have to lock onto them with your torpedoes. You just dump in that zone. Because when we were pushing into that C cap, I detected the 10 torpedoes from the enemy gearing. I detected the 10 torpedoes from the Holland. They were dumping it on the corner of that island where all my teammates were kind of bunched up at. And I'm sure some of them probably ate a couple torpedoes. But they could do that freely even without locking on because they're just sitting there. So knowing your enemy is like, well, he's likely not to leave this spot because of the coverage of this island, because he's now, instead of him versus 6 of my teammates, he's actually limited how many of my teammates have a firing solution on him, where he's just 1 versus 1. So when you know those things, it helps you as a player how to best engage with them. So getting a feel for those you're going up against, and that can really give you a lot of power as a destroyer player. And the 7th I will throw in is gatekeeping, is if you're being able to prevent push in advance, which is what I wanted to do when the enemy team players were pushing up from A to B. But it was more important for me to go get the cap to get the points. Because if I didn't do that, we would have lost the game maybe sooner. I don't know. It depends on how a battle goes. But gatekeeping with your torpedoes, where you make enemy players more conscious about pushing up, especially if they're dealing with the Shimakaze. A lot of battleships and cruisers will be like, I don't know about this, and you're leading them to making maybe some indecisive decision making, slowing them down. and them hugging islands, kind of waiting till the coast is clear maybe, so on and so forth. So I hope this video in particular has been really helpful for you. I just wanted to highlight something different after I played a lot of shorter matches last night in ranked, and then just things that I have learned over the time, because I really love playing destroyers in World of Warships. So if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you want to see more, and if you haven't subscribed, thanks so much, really appreciate it. And just looking forward to growing the community more with you guys, and feel free to dive in and join the FLT Discord community. Post memes there, more gaming updates, codes, and just have fun in general. So it's a pretty positive group. So until next time, take care.